Hello, everybody. It's Agnes, and I have got a special guest for you today. It is Nancy. She is also Aussie in London at the moment. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Agnes. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you again.
You too.
We've talked about doing this for a while, and today's the day. Your story is actually in this book, Emerald City, and it is the very last story in this book, and it's called The Verdict Is Not Guilty. And we're going to discuss that in a second, but first I just want to tell people where we met. You and I did, I think 5 years ago, we did the same coaching course online, and then you and I ended up coaching each other because we were practicing at that point, because we were newbies to this whole thing. So you and I got paired up. You were in London at the time. I was in Sydney, Australia at the time. And we used to practice coaching each other, which is how we became friends. So, yeah, I just remembered that. That's how it all started. So, yeah. And Nancy and I, both Australian, well, we've got other, mixed bits and pieces in our heritage, but we were based, our roots, our families are in Sydney, Australia. So yeah, we had a strong, and now we're both in London. So we're like bookends. So your story is an amazing story of something quite tragic happening, and then the transformation that happened over the years after that. So can you start back to that unbelievable day where everything changed in your life and start from there?
Yeah, well, I would just like to say it's an honor to be on here with you, Agnes. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing journey. So in 2013, 14, I was in Nepal. I decided to take my boys to Nepal for a journey for them to see what it was like to live in another country. I would have really wanted to live in a mountainous region, and I had, read all these things about the Dalai Lama and all the cave people living up in the mountains, and a country where, even though people perceive it as poor, that it was a place of beauty and people live simply. And I really wanted to experience that beauty. So I brought my boys, they were 11, 12 then. And before I had they're identical twins. Before I had my boys, I used to travel the world for 5 years, like on my own. And I used to be a snowboarding adventurer, and I really wanted to be a professional snowboarder. And so I'd been around the world on mountains doing, big drops on top of mountains. And I used to watch these paragliders. And I watched them paraglide and come down onto the mountain. And I thought, one day I'm going to learn to do that. And so when I was in Nepal, one of the guys, actually, this was a synchronicity. It must be, the dream, what you wish for, and all those things. One of the guys that I met, this was previous 10 years ago, I was in Nepal, and I bumped into a guy in one of the little village streets. And I said, oh, do I know you? And I was like, what are you doing here? And he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, where do I know you from? And he goes, I said, is it Austria? And he goes, yeah, I was one of the paragliders. And I do bring people doing the big high peak skiings up in the Himalayas. And I was like, wow. So I watched these guys paraglide, and then all of a sudden it clicked. I had that dream 10 years ago. And I was watching them paraglide. And so, we were in Nepal, and I was homeschooling my boys. And I said to the boys one day, one of my dreams was to fly and be a pilot. And they went, okay, Mum. So I got friends that were there that were homeschooling their kids. I put them in their group, and they homeschooled. And I went and trained to be a pilot. And I loved it. Like, I mean, the first few days you're training and da 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 da, and then I became. You train on the ground and then you start flying, and basically I love, there I was being that pilot, really loving being in the sky, flying, no engine, just a wing and the elements, and that for me was sensational. Well, on my 25th flight, it was a beautiful day, everything was perfect, and I took off. And after takeoff, I felt something weird, like I dropped a bit, and I was like, oh, okay. So I put myself back onto course, and then I dropped a bit again and my wing collapsed, and I was about 40 meters up in the air and my wing just collapsed, and I went down into the mountain, and I crushed myself, basically. My left foot got completely crushed, my ankle, my tibias, and everything was crushed. Had fractures in my hips, in my ribs, and I had hit my head quite hard. And anyway, that's a whole story of taking me off the mountain, because in Nepal, the closest hospital just looked at me and said, we can't do anything. You got to remember, and they had to make, like to get me off the mountain, they had to make, what are those things to carry you, they had to go to the village and cut some bamboo, and, it was just that in itself was a story just to get me off. And one of the things I was thinking about when I came off the mountain was, when I was going into the mountain, my kids. And I was like, I can't die. I gotta live. I've got kids, and so that was going through my head. And, the guys were giving me all this medicine to keep, the pain down and keep me awake and just helping me. And finally they put me in an ambulance and took me from Pokhara. An ambulance in Nepal is just a broken down, up from where we live, is a broken down car with, gas in it to breathe. And that was a 7-hour drive. So in that story of that, I basically had started the laws already. I had started with Abraham Hicks. And I had started a few years before. And so I sort of had that idea. That's why I think I had my children, I want to live. And in that whole process, I had to really realize and look at always the possibility, the solution, the possibility. And when you're in that situation, like, I didn't know what the solution was, only that my body needed to heal. I wanted to walk again. And first of all, I needed to get somewhere that I could be looked after. And so from Nepal, I flew back to Australia, and that's when my healing started. Now, they said to me in Nepal, I had 2 operations there, and they said to me that, your foot's pretty gone. It was, pretty gone. And I got to Australia, and they re-operated on me because they said my foot was crooked. You can't do it. So I had 3 operations in a matter of a couple of months, which was intense.
So Nancy, they operated in Nepal and did a bad job because they had limited resources. And then, so you got on a plane for how many hours from Nepal to Sydney, Australia?
13.
And you were in really bad shape, and you had the boys with you.
Yeah.
Gee.
Yeah.
That must have been a hell of a flight.
Yeah, it was. I had to summon up.
Yeah.
I had to summon up the most powerful energy. And because of the laws, I sort of knew how to focus my attention, because I was in fear of never walking again.
At that point. Were you on crutches to get on the plane?
Yeah.
How did you get on?
A wheelchair. They put me in a wheelchair.
A wheelchair.
A wheelchair me on. And I had to stop in Thailand as well. And had a layover, and then, so I got help. I just had to learn to ask for help and stuff. And and then we flew to Australia. Yeah.
Wow. That must have been some journey for the boys too.
Oh my Lord.
They
Yeah.
would have been worried about you and wondering what was going on, and
Yeah.
what a journey for them. Okay, so you got to Australia, they did the 3 operations, and the journey began to,
Yeah.
how many years of healing did it take from the time of the accident to
I
how,
was on crutches for 3.5 years.
yeah,
They told me I would never walk again.
yeah,
After being
wow,
in Australia for 6 months, I came back to London.
yeah,
I would use the laws again to find the top specialist and go, like, and also find about how to heal myself. And,
yeah,
I got people going, oh, well, I broke my foot and I didn't go and see a specialist. I just healed it like that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not that powerful. But let me see, because my body's gone through pretty intense damage.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I kept on seeing myself healed. And they in London, they basically offered me to fuse it together or have a complete ankle foot replacement. Now he said 2 and 8 only worked, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use the power that lies within me
yeah,
to heal. And it was taking a long, long time. And I was stressing, I was crying, but I kept on using Neville's teachings,
yeah,
which you had brought to me when I had met you. I hadn't heard about Neville. I only knew Abraham Hicks, and I knew a little bit of Florence Sherville, but I hadn't known about Neville. And I started seeing myself running on the beach, and my boys at the end of the beach going, "Hey, Mom, you just run that, just
yeah,
keeping it simple." But it was really tough. And I did green juicing every day. I did my affirmations every day. I woke up and did meditations morning, noon, and night. I was like,
yeah,
what do they do? And never would
yeah,
be obsessed with your end result.
yeah.
And
And
that's when,
Nancy, you were in bed for how long? Because I remember when I met you
yeah,
in person,
yeah,
you were still bedridden
yeah,
for years.
yeah. I was a long time. It was years.
Yeah,
It was the same 3-4 years, because
yeah,
my body would go into this seizure,
yeah,
and which would mean my foot couldn't work, my body would be inflamed.
yeah,
And and so in bed I used to do yoga, but I used to always find a way to move my body. I remember the occupational therapists that came to see me said, you know what, most people need to have a smoke, that's their reason to get out. And they said, your reason is your love of life. And they said, you don't hardly see that many people that have that way of being. So, I had my green juicing, I had my yoga, I had my affirmations, I had my believing. And I met you then, and you were
yeah,
helping me, and we were coaching each other. And I
yeah,
requested that people that are that way inclined and minded come into my life.
yeah,
But I found also I was challenged because my heaviness of my mind, of not having the freedom of my physicality, which I was someone that loved to travel. I love to have a good time. I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to be out in
yeah.
the world. And I couldn't do any of that for
Yeah,
3-4 years. And I was like, oh my Lord, how am I going to
yeah.
do this?
Nancy, do you remember? Because I know where you are and what room you're in, and to
Yeah.
get from your bedroom down to the kitchen
Yes.
is some stairs. And I remember you said you'd have to go down those stairs on your bum, one step at a time, because you couldn't walk down the stairs at that point. And you did that for a very long time.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and your boys cooked for you. And I mean, they really manned up, those two.
oh my God, they were like carers, they
Yeah,
learned. I actually had carers that came in morning and night for
yeah,
2.5 years
yeah,
to help me, because there was, they were little, you know, and even though they can do
Yeah.
things, I also knew that they needed help as well as me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they learned to cook, they learned to do everything. And one of the things I learned is how to appreciate them, how to appreciate, because my two things that I had my whole life is I'm not supported.
Yeah.
And I'm not lovable.
Yeah.
And I had to learn because telling people what to do doesn't work.
Yeah.
Shouting at people to do things doesn't work.
Yeah.
And calling, you know, them names in your thoughts does not work.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if they don't hear it. Yeah, exactly.
Because you're still projecting towards them in your energy, your emotions, what you get back, even from your closest people, because that can be the hardest relationships if you haven't learned to transform them. So I had to really appreciate them, learn to love them so much. I had to learn to really, really understand from my inner heart's depth who they were for me, and they've been my greatest teachers.
Yeah. Thank God you had twins, because they could share the load. What an amazing thing. Like, you just think, if you'd had one child and the whole load would have been on one child, that would have been a lot, but they could share it.
Yeah.
What a brilliant, talk about amazing support. And you know what, Nancy, I'll never forget coming to your place.
Yeah.
You know, when we were decluttering your house over some months and all of that. But I remember when I first met them, and they said, "Oh, hi, Agnes, nice to meet you." And they showed me in, and they said, "Oh, you know, can we make you a cup of tea?" And then they organized like dinner or something. I remember going, what the heck? Like, I had never seen children do that.
Wow.
They were so aware of other people's needs, what they might want, what they were so tuned from the experience of having looked after you and having to let people in and out of the house, the carers. They were so geared to being aware of other people, because often at that age you're not.
Yeah. This is true. It's just about me.
It's all about me. And I remember just being gobsmacked by that. Like, it was so shocking in a incredibly amazing way. And I thought, this is the gift that's come out of them and the journey of caring for you, what happened to come out of themselves and to go, okay, we have to learn to give here.
It was
talk about, imagine the men they're going to be for the women they meet. I mean, wow.
Thank you, Agnes.
Profound.
I really appreciate that. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I'll never forget it, Nancy. It was like, I was in shock. Like, it was so profoundly moving to see it and to witness it. It was profound. I'll never forget it. It was like, boy, you really learned to go from I'm not supported to I'm supported in your mental diet. And then the evidence of it was being shown in your two boys. Yeah, profound.
Big time.
So yeah, okay, sorry, I interrupted you. Go back to where were you in the story? So you were...
I came back to Australia, and you know, I was on the crutches for 3.5 years, and my foot still couldn't walk. And I was so frustrated, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I even though I knew the laws, I was using them every day, but also I could see myself putting myself down, because I was still here, still, you know, in this place, you know, this comparison, that don't do anything. Regret don't do anything. The criticism don't do anything. The judgment don't do anything. Because it just makes you suffer. And I was like, I do not want to be someone that cannot walk.
Yeah.
I want to be someone that can still go out and trek, that can go out and walk, that can go out and exercise, that can go out and dance. So I just kept on keeping on, you know, and just believing. And, you know, and each day, you know, it would bring some heaviness would come in, and I just have to recognize that. The power of awareness, like recognizing where your energy goes. You know, like I know that I had an intensity and heaviness within me anyway. and lightening that up and being kind to myself and being, you know, this is a huge thing, you know. And everyone would say to me, oh, you know, you're so inspiring, but I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
Because I still wasn't walking properly. And so I decided to ring up this specialist. I found the top Mr. Goldberg.
Yeah.
And I found him and I wrote a letter to myself that from him saying, yes, I'll take the metal out of your foot. Because I went to see 3-4 other specialists. They said, no, your foot won't hold if you don't have it fused or you don't have a replacement. And I was like, not going to have those. I'm just not going to do that.
So they fused the foot in Australia for when you did the operations? No.
They just I had in total 6 plates holding everything and wires and screws and just holding all the inside together. Because the cartilage had all gone, and you know, and he couldn't. The guy top said, I can't do stem cell therapy here because it's too damaged.
Yeah.
So I went to see him, and I said to him, and I learned this appreciation thing. This is so powerful, you know, because everyone's going, you know, because a lot of the healing field was saying, no, you can heal yourself, you can heal yourself, and when you're not healing wholly. And you're hearing that all the time. That was making me anxious as well in a way.
Yeah.
So I had to let go of it and go, you know, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is too hard. Because I know if you're like, I'm quite an extreme energy person. So, you know, I can be laughing and crying at the same time. So, myself. So just, I had to keep on surrendering. What does that surrender feel in my body? What does that feel like? Relief. So with this doctor, I appreciate, I had a letter written to myself that I wrote saying, yes, I'll be happy to take the metal out. So when I went to see him, he said, I don't think it's a good idea either. And then I said, but I really feel I can heal myself. And he goes, oh, are you one of those women that your body is your temple? And I went, yeah. Basically, I believe I really appreciate your technology and what you've studied and what you learn and all those things, but I also appreciate my physical body and how it can heal itself. And I asked him, are you willing to do that? And he said yes. And so on the day of the operation to take all the metal out, this was a year and a week later after my last operation, so he was really not into it. But he did it anyway. And on the day of the operation, he came to my bed right just before the operation, right then. And now I was getting myself ready and I was doing my meditation, seeing their beautiful healing hands, doing it all perfect and da-da-da and getting it ready. And then he sits on my bed and he goes, I'm not going to do it.
Oh.
And I was like, and every cell in my body said, yes, grab his hand. I grabbed his hand and I said, I understand, but my body's saying take it out. And so he did. And, you know, after the operation, it took months, still another 6 months. But, you know, I went and had the scans and he went, you were so right to take those out. And I said, why? And he goes, because all the metal was tearing and coming out of your bone. And because I had so much pain, I was in so much pain. It was ripping and tearing. And I was like, and he goes, how do you know that? And I said, one of the things I'm learning is when I do meditation and I listen to my body and I go into my own healing, you can start to feel your higher self. You can feel what you need. It's only when you start listening to the outside world and you're not listening to yourself. Maybe some of the stuff on the outside world is in alignment with you, but when you know thyself, you can start choose. Because I was getting very confused what to do. Like, you know, I knew my greater power lied within me, but that was still young in me, that learning. That was very young in me. And it takes, even the masters still, like I know with Neville, you know, he started at this age and he was still practicing, and it till he died.
Yeah.
So I know that for me, I realized I was young in it, so I had to just have a lot of compassion around it. He took the medal out. He said it was amazing. And then, about 6 months later, I started walking without crutches. And today I can walk, and I have done the British Isles. I've walked for 13 hours a day, doing trekking walks. I've walked up Snowdonia. I've walked up mountains. I'm traveling again. Sometimes it gets tired. So there's a weakness there. There's a weakness there.
Yeah.
But I'm walking. And
you're not limping, nothing anymore. That's it.
When it gets tired, I limp.
Yeah.
But if I do something like that, I have to know that, I have a weaker foot. And I have to be honest with myself.
Yeah, and it's done quite well to get to the point of being able to walk 13 hours. Wow, that's huge. I didn't know that about the doctor, that last doctor. I didn't. Yeah, wow. Huge. So when did it start? When did you finally get fully off crutches and start walking without a limp? How many years after the accident did that take from beginning to end?
End of 2016.
And the accident was
2013.
13. So it took about 3.5 years fully. Yeah. And a lot of that you were in bed.
Yeah, and everyone said, it's just a broken ankle, but they didn't understand it was a whole fractured, the heel.
It was all shattered. Yeah.
It was all shattered, and that is a completely different stuff. And, I met this guy on the journey, and he had a massive motorbike accident, and he had a similar thing. And he said he couldn't, and this is, I don't really want to say it, but because, I was in a lot of pain a lot. And I've had to work through that with Neville's work, and the power of the energy of my inner God and my inner universe. Just really, it's been a real training to be so much love and care to self. To
the self, yeah.
So
what were you going to say about him, Nancy? What did he say, the guy that had the similar thing to you?
He went and got his foot chopped off.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and you didn't lose yours.
Because he couldn't deal with the pain. He said it
couldn't
was
deal.
Too much. And when you got that kind of stuff, because you're walking all the time, so you're always reminded, so
every step.
Every step of the way. And I said to him, wow. I mean, and he's become a famous pole dancer, actually. He's amazing. He's got tattoos. He's a groover. And I said to him, wow, that must have taken something. So, I can understand why people do things, it's like your mental mind has to be, you have to train.
Yeah.
This thing here, this beautiful gift that we have here.
Yeah. I remember, Nancy, you were probably in that last, I don't know, it was the last year of healing, and you would go to a festival or something, and then your foot would collapse because you'd pushed it too hard, and you were trying to get it to work faster than it wanted to heal.
Yes.
And I remember you'd say, I'm so frustrated because I've pushed it too hard and now it's given up, and and you would just and that got less and less and less over time, because you were just so wanting to be free, of course. After 2 years in bed already at that point, it was like, right, enough already.
That was that energy of that pushing, or something was ready, and that causes the same energy, doesn't it? It's like pushing for something rather than feeling relaxed and it's done, and that energy I had to learn. And it's because I go to a lot of conscious festivals in England. They do amazing festivals, and when I got here, that's what I was first introduced to in the first 6 weeks of my journey here, and I was like, what? So
Oh my God. I mean, thank God you came across Abraham Hicks, Neville, visualization, sending love to the, I mean, it's like you got the information right when you really had to put it to the test big time. And
yeah.
I mean, you think if I hadn't come across that information, maybe I would have got my foot cut off like the other guy.
But that's it, like, or I would have got it fused.
Yeah.
Or I may have gone to have the operation that wasn't 100%. And I would have had to believe it was, but that means that they take your whole system out and put a whole new system in. Yeah. And that's a huge operation as well. And I was like, you know what? Let me have a go. So yeah. And I think what happens when you're in these things, you go and find out knowledge, you go and find out everything that's available out there. And sometimes you think, who do I think I am? I'm not a medical expert, but by the time at the end of the years, you feel like you're an expert.
Yeah.
Because you do all the searching, you find out what works. And I went to see a lot of alternative healers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the end, I still had to come back to me.
Yeah, everybody does their little bit to move you an inch forward. And it's huge. It's huge. And I think too, because of the work we do, it's like that alone is very introspective. You're working on, dealing with your negative emotions, releasing those. Because when we did our course, it was all about working on our own selves through the journey of that course. So, I mean, that happened right at the time you were basically doing the course while you were bedridden.
Yes.
Yeah, that was giving you something to do and something else to focus on. And it was such an interesting thing because I was healing from my back injury I was having a year off from healing my back injury, and you were having, a longer period of time healing from your accident. But it's like that, those moments in our lives charted a whole new course of wellness for us individually, and then also to be able to pass that on and hopefully give other people a bit of relief with what we've had to deal with ourselves. But that was such an amazing time, wasn't it? Huge.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fantastic because I met people like yourself, and and learning that kind of work, because beforehand, when I had my boys, I had thrown myself into reflexology, energy works, all sorts of energy work, because I realized I really had to understand what this thing was. I was so far removed from what actually total unconditional love, to love thyself was. I realized how much I was so much the other way. Never enough. And that course really helped me understand a lot about who I was, and meeting beautiful people like yourself, and then going, oh my God, and now I've got to work with other people. And that was a bit scary for me because my body hadn't totally healed.
Yeah. But what was great was, even while your body wasn't totally healed, you could sit up in your room, in your bed, and still begin the process of, I mean, we started just coaching each other for free because we didn't know what we were doing, and we were learning and practicing, feeling really unconfident and freaked out about, God, who's going to listen to me? But it's like we slowly began to, as we were healing our own selves. And I think you and I have just realized through this journey, it's sharing your experience is one of the most powerful tools in helping people anyway.
Absolutely. It's a big one. Stories, the memory scape, isn't it? It's the people, the success, like the stories that other people shared, like your stories were amazing that I heard you share with me. They gave me so much feeling of the potential that I could be successful in this, that I could actually accomplish this, that this was possible. Those success
Yeah.
stories, definitely, they helped me,
Yeah.
give me confidence.
And they give you that little bit of inspiration for that day or for that week when you're feeling really low and dragging through and just feeling heavy and everything's hard. It does. It gives you that lift for the day, or for, let me go back and reread that. Let me go back and listen to that. I mean, I think that's, that is what you have had to do that. I've had to do that too. And now,
Yes.
not saying that we have perfect lives, but
No,
definitely we know how to go to the toolbox and get stuff out when we need help. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story, Nancy. It's such a good story. I mean, I still, just when I go back and I reread that story this morning, went, oh my God, I'd forgotten about that little bit. And because there's another whole part of the story about what happened when you went to Australia and the consequences of the court case. And we won't go into that because that, people can read that if they want to read that other. But there was that whole other stuff on top of it. Like, it was like a big sandwich.
There was so much going on. I had to pull out all the stops,
Oh my God.
I had to pull in, like I had to ask for support from people. Like I realized that I was at a level here and I needed a level, you know. And I had to one of the biggest things, and I realized how independent I had become not to ask for help. And even though, Neville says you can do it, and you can, but I feel that having the support and someone believing in you
makes a big difference, especially when you've been smashed that far down, for sure.
Yeah.
And how old are the boys now? Because they were like 12, 11 and 12 or not. How old are they now?
No, then just turned 19.
Wow. Oh my God. Oh, wow. What an amazing, it's just amazing. It really is amazing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing the story. And I will put all of Nancy's details down below for those of you that would like to contact her directly. All the bits and pieces from what she does will be down there, so you can contact her directly. So thank you, Nancy. And do you want to say bye to everybody, and then we'll say bye in private after that?
Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and it was such a pleasure to do this with you, Agnes. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
It was lovely. It's like going back in time. It's lovely. So lovely.
Love.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. I'll see you in the next YouTube.